Hello, 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 and welcome to the Drag Race recap here on Reality TV RHAP Ups. I'm your host, Leona Boris. We are here to talk about the 5th episode of Canada's Drag Race. That's right, All Stars is over, thankfully, a little bit, but we are going to march on and talk about everything that's going on up in the Great White North. So I am not alone. Of course, we have our wonderful panel here with us today, Aman Adwin. Aman, how are you?
I am Gucci. It's kind of good to be talking solely about like Canada's Drag Race and not All Stars as well. I feel like we were overdrive for like the past couple of weeks. So it's nice to give all of our attention to these beautiful Northern sisters.
And I think they absolutely deserve it. So with us also is, of course, Beth. Beth, how are you?
I am feeling snatched and ready to play no games with my commentary tonight.
Our special guest is someone who I'm super, super excited to talk about. I had the wonderful opportunity to talk with him about Survivor. You may know him from The Amazing Race or his fantastic podcast, Psychobabble, one of my favorites. It is Corey Cool. Corey, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yes. So for those of you who might not be familiar, so Corey is a big Drag Race fan. Corey, give us some of your Drag Race thoughts overall.
Oh my God, overall?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to talk about from the beginning? Land Before Time, baby. Let's walk on back.
Yeah, no, I mean, we talk about Drag Race on Psychobabble from time to time, and I think my co-host and I always just say that we love that it gives such a great platform to queer people to just represent art and represent who they are. I started watching back at season 3 was the first season I watched in real time. Because a friend of mine was like, you have to watch this show. You're going to be obsessed. It's like Top Model meets Project Runway, but with drag queens. And I was like, I'm hooked. I was hooked instantly. And I've been along. Obviously went back and watched the first 2 seasons and then have been along for the ride ever since.
That's such a great description of the show. Like, I think I'm going to steal that. If for some reason I have a friend who actually doesn't watch Drag Race.
Right.
But all right. Well, awesome. We're really happy to have you. Now, we had just wrapped up talking about All Stars. Is there anything that you want to say about All Star?
Oh my God.
I know, right?
So much to say. I'm so happy for Shea Coulee. Like, I was such a Shea stan from the beginning. I was heartbroken when she lost season 9. And it was lovely to see her finally snatch the crown that I thought so many of us agreed that she deserved. So I was happy for Shea.
Great. Let's get into talking about this episode of Canada's Drag Race. So, Aman, this is the very first Canadian Snatch game. How do you think the Canadian Snatch held up?
It was all right. I feel like there were definitely some winners. There were definitely some losers. I think I'm gonna be fair because I feel like a lot of us hyped it up because like, oh my God, it's the first one. They all got to be really, really good. But they're just like any other queens, you know what I mean? Some of them aren't going to have this as their forte. So as an inaugural Snatch game, probably not one for the annals, but it was good. I enjoyed a lot of their performances.
Well, Corey, I think that this, to me, was a Snatch game that sort of really had almost like 2 kind of groups. Although, you know what? Now that I think some of the middling performances, I think were actually pretty good as well. What did you think about the queens in the Snatch game?
When I was watching the episode and Jeffrey was doing the walkthrough and getting who everyone's going to do and that sort of thing, I was actually really nervous. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. I wasn't feeling confidently about anybody. Like, I was really, really nervous. And then when I actually got to see the performances, I was pleasantly surprised. But part of me wonders, is it because I went in with such low expectations after that like workroom walkthrough?
It's the key to life, man. I'm telling you.
Right. Go in with low expectations and you'll always be impressed.
It's British sentimentality right there. Just low bar and just always be happy at the end of the day.
Well, Beth, was it a low bar for you, or did you feel like this was good overall?
I actually felt like this is probably one of the overall stronger Snatch games. I think we all have this expectation that like, Snatch game is always so good. No, it's not. Snatch game is normally like a trash dumpster fire with a couple shining moments. And I felt like for the I can't talk today. I'm so sorry. I've already said like 6 words that aren't words. But for the exception of a couple of the queens, I really felt like overall people did a passable good job. Like, this is not All Stars. This is a regular season. I expect that people come out and do at least a safe performance and kind of go from there. And I felt like, for the exception of like two people, this, like, even someone like Boa with her Gypsy Rose was passable. She could have gone way farther with it, but it was something that was like at least passable. So overall, I feel exactly how Aman felt. Like, it was not one that we're going to be talking about for a long time, but it was certainly one that I enjoyed. I didn't sit back and cringe too hard, which ultimately that's what I'm looking for.
I think I had a lot of fun. I think when I was looking back on this episode, this was really jam-packed, because I even forgot for a second that we had the reading mini challenge. Yeah. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that I thought that it was jam-packed. Is it bad? But I don't know. I had a lot of fun. I thought that there were things that made me laugh, even though I can't necessarily articulate to you why, which might be a problem when we talk about some of the queens later on. But like Rita Baga as Edith Piaf, I just laughed so hard. Her physical comedy was absolutely hilarious. Absolutely. I don't remember really many of her lines, but I don't think she had many lines.
It was pretty much just like, I'm going to go to sleep. Right. I mean, that was like, I want a coffin. Like, I mean, it's just like all those things.
On paper, shouldn't have been funny, but it was. So we'll get into all of those specifics when we talk about each of the queens. But first, we need to, like I said, talk about this mini challenge. Now, before the mini challenge, we had some of the workroom drama, which was this whole Priyanka versus Alona kind of thing, Corey, which I thought was interesting. It seemed legit. It seemed real to me.
Yeah, I watched the episode twice since I knew I was coming here, and I caught some things the second time that I didn't notice the first, especially like once they got back from the snatch performance, and then Priyanka was complaining, and then Elona quipped back with "Don't play the victim," which was something Priyanka had said to her in that first opening scene right after the Tainomi elimination. I don't know. I like Elona's looks, but I do think she was being a little over the top and a little dramatic when they got back in the workroom. And I never want to see somebody quit, and just like listening to her say she almost didn't lip sync, she almost didn't respect the game. That was very disappointing.
Yeah, Beth, I mean, this is really something that kind of goes out through, starts last episode, but then sort of continues as a narrative throughout this whole episode. I wonder if this is something that is like, oh, it was drama that sort of was initiated because of this event and is now going to go away, or I wonder if this is something that's going to carry on throughout like more of the episodes.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to carry on, and I think part of it's because of who these queens are, right? I think that Alona is someone who is obviously very sensitive, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I really feel like she can't help but express her emotions. I will say something that I think a lot of people who feel like their emotions are not being validated and such don't understand, is that when people are saying, for example, when they were saying, we really thought that would be disrespectful if you didn't lip sync, that's not criticizing the emotion you felt. That's criticizing what you're choosing to do with your emotions. So there's a difference there that I feel like Elona didn't understand, that people weren't saying like, you shouldn't feel the way that you feel, in which case that would be invalidating, but they were saying you shouldn't handle things this particular way. And I think that that's something that all of us could try to improve upon in the future, but I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more of this kind of misunderstanding moving forward. And I, for one, am here for the drama of it. So I guess I shouldn't criticize too much.
Yeah, it's nice to finally, and we sort of had this a little bit last episode, but really dropping the walls and getting into a lot of the drama. It's like, oh, they're Canadian. They're so nice. Like, no, it's just going to actually be catty. And I love it. I love it. Okay, well, Aman, the reading challenge is here. And I think probably one of my favorite lines was the one to Priyanka. I can't remember who said it. Yes, it was lemons. Oh my gosh. You talk about sex a lot, but the only thing you're fucking is stupid. Aman is so good.
Yeah, there were these. I mean, you just said it. We were expecting these queens to be all, Canadian and kind, but honey, they were ready to rip each other apart.
More like kind, less kind.
Yeah, exactly. I love the one that was it Elona Verley that said it to what did she say to Lemon? I forget it. I'm like having a brain fart now, but I forget. That was the one that made me laugh the most though. It was like a very deadpan joke that she made, and I can't remember what it was. But yeah, the reading challenge, they were definitely prepared for this.
Was it the coaster one?
Yes, there it is.
Yeah. I love
you
that
hold my
one
drink because I just left
always like the rest on the coaster. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Boa to Lemon. Yes.
Boa. There it is.
Corey, did you have any favorites from the reading challenge?
The Priyanka one that Lemon gave to her that you were talking about. My roommate and I rewound the episode to watch it again, and I was like, I want that to be my Real Housewives line about myself.
Yes.
I was like, that's how I want to use that joke going forward about myself. I loved it. The reading challenge is always such a highlight every season for me, and I think they all delivered.
I find it interesting that Brooklyn was kind of like along for the ride a lot more than RuPaul is usually. Like if the joke was bad, he would like pile on it being bad, or if it was good, he would kind of like support it. So I was like, oh, you're getting in on this too. Like I was like, it feels like a bit of like season 11 Brooklyn is trying to like, redeem herself for her own stuff back in her past season. So it was interesting.
I liked it only because sometimes you sit back, and I think this feeds into what we were saying in All Stars, where like RuPaul's sense of humor isn't always like matching up with what we like as an audience. So it was nice to have like the voice of the audience being like, can you explain that further? Or this was funny because of this, or like add themselves into it. So I actually really liked it. And I think probably because while I'm sure they all look up to Brooklyn, the fact that Brooklyn is not RuPaul, I think that's why you can kind of get away with it. But yeah,
right.
I feel like Brooklyn did that as well during the Snatch Game performance. Like when jokes weren't landing, she was like making it apparent that the jokes weren't landing. And I appreciated it.
It was just funny because, and I loved that Brooklyn made fun of herself too, like in the beginning of the Snatch Game, being like, remember, if you don't do well in the Snatch Game, they make you come back and host it. Yeah. But it was really funny to see like, yeah, Brooklyn really bombed Snatch Game, but here she is like really owning the host gig and like being able to really poke at the queens a little bit more. So I thought that was fun.
Well, and speaking of Brooke, Rita was willing to throw a little shade Brooke's way with, oh, now finally a Canadian can win Drag Race, which I thought was great. I think it's a reminder of like, oh, Brooke is kind of one of them to a certain extent, right? Whereas you don't necessarily have that hierarchy or that difference of power with RuPaul. And Rita, who is someone who's well established, has been around for a long time, I'm sure has worked with Brooke before, has been familiar with Brooke. And to see that kind of come out, I think is really fun and really playful. And I'm happy that that was in there and happy that Rita went ahead and took a stab at Brooke in the reading challenge.
I also think one of my favorite lines, and I don't know if this is because I live in the part of New York State where I'm equally like close to Quebec and Ontario, but I loved Brooklyn's line about she doesn't have an attitude, she's French Canadian. Like it was like, yeah, that's actually very spot on for anybody who understands that. Like it was really, really funny.
I think, Corey, just like you want to pull lines for your Real Housewives line, for me, I'm not creative enough to come up with these, so I like to steal insults from Drag Race. And you remind me of a slinky because I don't know what you do, but I want to push you down the stairs is another one that I've logged for safekeeping, or maybe put it on a throw pillow. I don't know. That's like my theme. But Lemon is our winner here, I think, because she has a number of just super fantastic reads. But overall, this was just fun, enjoyable. And like you guys were talking about, with the way that either Brooke was participating or the way it was edited, felt a little bit more cozy, casual, fireside chat reading instead of formal cut like between all the reads, which was a cool feel.
Something I noticed is they really didn't show too many reads that fell flat. Like there was a couple of them, but there wasn't that many. And there was only, I can't remember who the queen was, but there was one queen who you only got one read out of.
I think it was Kiara. They literally only showed one of her reads, and then it was done.
Yeah. So it was one of those situations where I really feel like the editors I think they were trying to not make it as clear as to who will be in the top and the bottom for the entire episode. And I feel like when you Kiara kind of started off on a low point and clearly was also going to be at a low point for the rest of the episode. I don't know. I was trying to get in the head of the editors a little bit.
They're protecting her. Well, I mean, in terms of the edit, I thought that Priyanka very much was either set up to have this sort of fall from grace, which I thought was pretty interesting. Because to me, Corey, I'm getting, not to get like too far ahead, but she definitely gives me Brooklyn Heights vibes in terms of edit, where it's like you bomb the Snatch Game, or maybe Evie Oddly, you bomb the Snatch Game, and then you're going to actually do well because you've been succeeding throughout the whole race.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I always look for, especially with Drag Race, is kind of like, who do they let be the narrator of the season? And Priyanka's kind of had that role for me from the beginning. Rewatching the episode back this morning, I feel like she had every confessional this entire episode. It's like she narrated the whole episode from start to finish. And as it was progressing the first time I watched it, I was right there with you. I'm like, she's either going to hit this out of the park or it's going to be bad news bears.
Yeah.
It's very few times I find that the narrator actually wins the season.
I agree with that.
I also sit back and go, oh no, they're going to get like top 5.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And like, I think she's in top 4 for sure, but I'm like, will she win? TBD.
Right. Is this like a Katya type situation where you have somebody's a great editor, or Ms. Cracker, or someone like that? Or is this Peppermint, or is this more like a Bob the Drag Queen or Bianca Del Rio kind of situation? I guess we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, let's talk about Snatch Game. We're just going to go through everybody and all of their performances. I don't even want to talk about Jeffrey Boyer Chapman doing the walkthrough, but if any of you guys have thoughts on it, you're more than welcome to give them now. I'm just a little eye roll over him because of the judging and all of that nonsense. But
yeah, I tend to agree. He's a little cringy.
My only question is, I'm not sure if any of the three of you were like familiar with him as a whole before this, because I'm just really curious now, like, is this who he was all along, or is it really this like affectation of RuPaul that he's creating? That's what I don't know.
I absolutely think it's an affectation. Yeah. You can tell this is not him naturally. He's putting on.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be like a whole Leah Michelle story, you know what I mean? Like, where finally it's coming to light. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really watched any of the stuff that he's been on before Drag Race. I didn't. What's the famous show that he's on? With
Unreal.
What's her face?
Unreal.
Yeah. So I didn't really watch that, but I mean, as a guest on RuPaul's Drag Race, he's just so kind and Jeffrey Boyer Chapman, and now he's Jeffrey Boyer Bitch on Canada's Drag Race.
Jeffrey Bitch Chapman. Yeah, he's the I've heard him on What's the Tea, RuPaul and Michelle's podcast, and he seems like just someone who's so nice and down to earth and has a lot of really interesting things to say. And it's like, I don't know, like I really do feel like he has the pressure of being the queer Black person that has to be the RuPaul. Like, and that's not what our expectation is of you, Jeffrey. Like, please just be yourself.
Be you. Yeah.
RuPaul isn't even that mean, at least not on camera. I mean, we hear he's mean off camera, but you know.
I mean, it's true. Like, I don't get it. Like, I really want him to be who I think you're right. Maybe this is like just who he is, like a Leah Michelle moment kind of situation. But I feel like he's just putting it on.
I guess, I mean, like we said before, everybody needs like the Simon Cowell, right? And if Stacey is going to be more of the kind one, and Brooklyn is kind of
Randy Jackson.
I guess. I was like, this metaphor is slowly losing track. But
I love the idea that Brooklyn is Randy Jackson.
I don't necessarily know about that. I just think it's hilarious because I remember, didn't we have a prediction at some point where it was like, oh, well, once the judges kind of settle into their rhythm, then maybe it'll improve. And unfortunately, at least for one of them, settling into his rhythm has not necessarily been an improvement. But I think, especially, I'm sure like he's hearing the criticism. You have to hear it. And so Canada's Drag Race comes back for a second season, which fingers crossed it will. Maybe he will take a different approach, because I agree with you, Corey. Like, I definitely think that it's some sort of airs that he's putting on, because this is not the person that I necessarily remember guesting before. Well, Snatch Game is upon us, and we need to talk about all of these queens. So the very first queen we're going to talk about is Boa. So I was unfamiliar with the tale of Gypsy Rose. I know, Corey.
No,
yeah,
me too.
but
What is happening?
Go watch the HBO special right now.
Oh, I did. I fell down a very dangerous rabbit hole of learning everything about. I was fascinated by this whole thing, which then, because I watched the episode, then I learned everything under the sun. Then I went back and rewatched Snatch Game. It was so much more disappointed, actually, in the performance, because Beth, I felt like Boa could have taken this so much further.
Yeah, I think that her concerns about I didn't want to be offensive or disrespectful is absolutely valid. I really feel like when you have characters and people like this that have a really dark history to them, if you're not willing to lean into the darkness and go really far with it in a very satirical way, you either are going to flop, like I feel like she did. I think it was passable. Like she got into that like cutesy kind of character like Gypsy was, but she never really got into the dark portion of it. And it would have been almost great to have her have like a, like I don't know, like something that would have been like so over the top stupid, like go from really cute to just demonic. I mean, it would have been amazing. But I feel like when you have a challenge like that, if you're not willing to rise to it and go all the way with it, then you shouldn't do it. I really felt like she should have done one of her other two choices.
Yeah. Well, Corey, what did you think about this? Because you're also familiar with Gypsy Rose.
I audibly gasped when she said Gypsy Rose was someone she was considering, because I kind of agree. Like, I thought it was going to be a very fine line. And I did question the appropriateness of it altogether.
Yeah.
And so I was nervous for her from the beginning. And then when I saw that is who she ended up picking, I agree. I don't know. It wasn't a home run for me, and she could have done more. But I was, the whole time with the performance, I was on the teetering between, is this appropriate or is it not?
So for those of you who may not be familiar, like I unfortunately, sadly was not, but happy I have corrected this mistake. So Gypsy Rose is was a kid who was raised by her mother, and her mother at least said that she had all of these conditions like muscular dystrophy and leukemia and, like teeth problems and all of that stuff. And so they were like well known. They got money from Make-A-Wish Foundation. They got a house from Habitat for Humanity. But it was just this elaborate scheme because the mother had what they think is Munchausen's. Yeah, Munchausen's by proxy, where essentially Munchausen's is where you always think that you have a particular disease, but this was by proxy. So essentially put it on her daughter, saying that her daughter had all of these conditions. She like shaved her daughter's head to mimic her going through chemotherapy and all of this jazz. So anyway, this whole like completely effed up thing is going on. And so then the mother is found dead and Gypsy Rose is missing. And so then obviously there's the whole like, yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And so now she's in prison, Gypsy Rose, because I mean, she either murdered her mom or like hired somebody, her boyfriend, to murder her mom.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a completely fucked up situation.
Do you understand why I said I was like teetering on the like ledge of like appropriateness the whole time? I was very familiar with this story.
Yeah, it's. I also feel like I said Gypsy Rose Lee, which is a very different person. I would say Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I had like a moment, but no. So Gypsy Rose suffered from. Well, I don't know if it was Gypsy as much as her mom suffered by. Is it
Munchausen's by proxy?
Yeah. By proxy is what Dee Dee, her mother, suffered from. But I don't know if Gypsy necessarily suffered, because I think that she just went along with whatever her mother said. So I don't know if that technically is the definition of Munchausen's or not. But anyway, like it's so dark, and that's what I meant by like you either have to make it so satirical and campy and really hit a home run with those jokes, or you just got to abandon ship and not go for it, because it can very easily. I will say the funniest thing about her whole performance isn't her performance. It's the fact that she had these headphones in her nose, like as if that was like her oxygen. Like that was literally the funniest thing for me. And I thought
her look was spot on.
Oh
but
yeah.
I could
Yeah.
feel like how nervous Boa was to go there because she
Right.
even was questioning the appropriateness of it.
Right.
Now, Amon, as someone who wasn't familiar with the story watching this, what did you think about her Snatch Game performance?
I thought that there were some pretty cool moments. I was kind of I didn't quite understand. I didn't know what the character was. So I was kind of like, okay, so she's a big gigantic faker and a liar. So that's kind of all that I got from it. I too thought that the earbuds in the nose was pretty funny because people are always doing that on Twitter. Like if they're like, I'm in the hospital, pray for me or whatever, they have these in their notes. It's just like so stupid. But yeah, I thought she was pretty good though. I think she did a good job.
But yeah, for me, it was like I definitely didn't get it because sometimes there will be characters on Snatch Game where I may not be super familiar, but if people can still make it funny and I can still laugh. This was one that was I didn't quite get it, but then once I learned everything about it, I was like, oh my god. Like I can't believe that this is actually happening. Because I do wonder almost if she had just gone for it, like gone all out, made it super dark, made it super crazy. Yeah. I wonder how that would have been received because that, to Corey's point, could honestly have been worse.
Well, and I saw too on Twitter, I was looking afterward because I always jump on Twitter to see what people are saying. And apparently Trixie Mattel had done a similar performance at like a Halloween show where she played Gypsy Rose, and people like read Trixie for filth about it and said it was not appropriate. So that's like I said, I had to hop on Twitter. I was like, I must know what the people are saying.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that Trixie did it. Here's the difference though, Trixie did her performance in a wheelchair. So I don't know if the poking fun at people with ability issues had a portion to do with that, like doing something from a wheelchair or not. But yeah, I just felt like overall this should have been a red flag. If you have to question whether or not it's appropriate to do it, you should probably lean on the side of not doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
I wish she would have done Rebel.
Me too. There's so much stuff you could say anything. You have to choose characters in Snatch Game where you could say anything as the character and it would be funny. If you don't know what's happening, you could just say, I don't know what's happening. And as Rebel Wilson, that's fucking funny.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's a challenge with comedians because sometimes like those people are just naturally funny. So you're just like, oh, they're a funny person. So I will then therefore be funny if I am that person. But Rebel Wilson is also somebody that has just a great amount of comedic, like physical comedy that you can do. And so that could have been something that would have been better. I mean, either way, it definitely would have been a safer choice than Gypsy Rose.
Totally.
Our next queen that we are going to talk about is Jimbo, who did Joan Rivers. Now, Jimbo ends up winning the Snatch Game here, Beth, and I thought that this was a fantastic job by Jimbo.
Me too. I've been waiting. Why has it taken all of these seasons for somebody to do Joan Rivers? We've seen Sharon Needles do it like in the Battle of the Seasons tours and such, but like this is the first time someone's done Joan Rivers on Snatch Game, and I was here for it because this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is somebody, again, where there are no rules as to what Joan Rivers can say and what she can't say, because she just said whatever she wanted to. Those are the kind of characters that you can just do it, and it doesn't take much to try to get this voice going. So all you have to do is if you can affect that voice and kind of do like the little shakingness to her, like you can do it fine. And so I was just sitting here waiting for somebody to do Joan Rivers. Jimbo absolutely nailed this. I was so happy with her delivery, how she riffed off of the other people there on the panel. I was just here for it.
Yeah, Amon, I think that she had probably one of my favorite jokes because everybody loves a good prolapse joke with the like thud and then the, oh, there goes my vagina.
Yeah, I think she was pretty good too. I think that she really lucked out being next to Jojo Siwa and then offering the child drugs. I mean, I think that you kind of just win right there and then and there. I didn't know that Joan Rivers allegedly had a cocaine addiction. Is this true? Is this a thing? Has this been a thing for a while?
I feel like that wouldn't shock me. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't shock me if she had a history with drugs or not. It's not something that I was aware of, but again, that's a character that you could pretty much just go wherever you want with it, make it funny, versus someone who clearly, like, I would think it's not funny if someone did like Whitney Houston and made all the jokes about doing cocaine. Like that wouldn't be funny. I don't know. It's just one of
Didn't
those situations.
Monet Exchange do a
Yes.
really? Yeah. Okay. We don't talk about that. Corey, what was your opinion of Jimbo's performance?
I was very happy with Jimbo's performance. I thought he was so smart to kind of come in with some jokes that he could use no matter what the question was. And I think that's what the people who always succeed at Snatch Game do. I think Jackie Cox did a really good job with her Lisa Rinna with it on the last season. Because the thing with the ashes, she could input that anywhere to any of those questions. The same thing with writing help and then just like saying, Melissa, get me off the show. Like none of that was really tied to the questions that Brooke was asking, but they played so well. And those are things you can kind of have in your back pocket and sit with and pull up when you can't think of something on the spot. And I think the queens that prepare that way are the ones that always succeed in Snatch Game. And I thought Jimbo did an incredible job with it.
I think so too. I think this is a performance that she just embodied, and then with the preparation as well. You know, Snatch Game is going to happen, and so you can create this character. You can come up with some of those answers that are plug and play. You know, it doesn't really matter what you're responding to because they're going to be something that's going to land. Overall, I thought this was deserved of the win, and this was just an enjoyable performance to watch.
Did you guys feel like the edit leading up to this point was at all pointing that Jimbo was going to do a good job?
I forget where the clip of him, I don't know if it came in the episode of him explaining how humor brought him out of his shell in high school. Once I saw that confessional, I was like, okay, he's winning this episode. But I forget exactly where it was placed in the show.
That was after Snatch Game, but in the workroom before they
the
announced
runway.
it. Yes, that was like, what's a good version of a nail in a coffin? Bring me my coffin, the Edith Piaf coffin. Because I completely agree that like relying on the sense of humor and stuff. Yeah,
that was showed another level of Jimbo that I don't think we had yet to see, which I think is rounding out his edit as a whole for the season.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I really liked that more sentimental kind of moment with him, explaining who he was and how that's turned into the drag queen that he is now.
I was surprised that normally those moments are first brought on in the workroom with like the commentary of the diary room kind of adding support to it. And that was all diary room. So there's a part of me that wonders if the other queens are seeing this vulnerable, sentimental side of Jimbo or not. Because it does sound like Jimbo has like a history of maybe hiding herself a little bit away from people.
Well, and it's funny. I completely agree with that. And it's even watching Jimbo do makeup when they're in the workroom, like getting ready. She's still always like in her leather jacket and her boots. And it's like, you don't see her kind of stripped down the way you do with some of the other queens are doing their makeup. And I feel like that is such like an armor for her in a way.
I agree.
All right. Well, the next queen we have to talk about is, oh, nope, that's Big Meat. No, Lemon. Oh my gosh. As Jojo Siwa, Corey. This was full body Jojo Siwa.
Okay. So I know who Jojo Siwa is, but I've never heard her talk. And I've never seen like an interview with her. I've of course seen her picture all over everything.
Blessed human being.
Well, right. So no, I was like, when I heard that's who Lemon was doing, I was like, is this going to be good? And it's like, I don't even want to watch a Jojo Siwa interview now. I just want to pretend that she's exactly how Lemon created her for the rest of all time. Because it was that good. Like, I enjoyed it so much. And I was like, this is who she is to me, and this is who she will always be to me, regardless of how true or not this performance actually was.
Yeah,
honestly, it was toned down. Because if you've seen Jojo
Really?
Siwa,
Can she not say her R's?
Like,
and was she really from Dance Moms?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
She wasn't in the first few seasons. It's like a later season, I believe, that she was, right?
Yeah, okay.
She's had a meteoric rise on social media, specifically TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay, so I learned about Jojo Siwa because I watched Dance Moms, but I was like I never placed Jojo Siwa until she was on The Masked Singer. she was the T-Rex on The Masked Singer. And I remember being like, who is this ball of energy? It is so much. It is overwhelming. And that was then while I was reminded of her. And this I thought was just, Yeah, tone down definitely, but still embody the energy and the craziness that is Jojo Siwa, Beth.
Totally. I think that yeah, I've heard Jojo Siwa talk a lot, but I really didn't understand. Like, I've never really caught the not being able to pronounce the R's, but this is a situation exactly what we're talking about, where like you take one thing that may be a part of their personality or who they are, and just bring it to the nth degree. Like the hail instead of hair answer was hysterical, and like spelling it out without an R, like stuff like that. That's exactly what you have to do in these Snatch games. Hail.
Even when she said Brooklyn, I died.
Yeah, she didn't drop it. Like, it continued throughout the whole thing, which was just hilarious. So for those of you who are watching the video version on YouTube, this is I pulled up a picture of Lil Jojo Siwa. So this is like baby Jojo Siwa when she was on Dance Moms during one of the later seasons. But yeah, oh my gosh. And I mean, it was pretty clear like the Lemon was going to be in the top, I think, just because of all of the energy. Not only that, but the comebacks and just having those answers. She did, I think, the same thing, which is having some of those prepared answers that then she can just pepper in. And, you know, like having the hair prop as the extension, all that stuff, really just
and it's always nice when it like works for the character too, because you know sometimes these queens will get really, really greedy during Snatch Game and try and take up all of the limelight. But that's what JoJo does, so it doesn't like really affect you too much, and she's literally, you know, jumping on other people's answers because that's what she would do anyway. So,
and I did appreciate that when Jeffrey did and I don't know, maybe it wasn't when Jeffrey did the walkthrough, but there was a time where she was like, "These are the things that make JoJo," like she knew, like she came in prepared and she knew exactly what she needed to do to like harp on things about JoJo in order to make her like even funnier than she already is.
All right, it's time. It's time to talk about Miss Cleo. Corey, this was disappointing to say the least.
I was very disappointed, to say the most. It's so funny to watch her do like a psychic character, because we just got to see Alexis Michelle do it on All Stars 5, and like Alexis killed it, and she knew exactly what to do with like, I'm reading your mind, I can see the future. And it's like, that's so easy to do when you're playing like a psychic character, and Priyanka just didn't do any of it. I don't know.
She like didn't even pick it up after Brooke made the suggestion.
They're like literally giving her
I hate
lobbies.
when the queens don't pick up on the joke. Like they're literally throwing you bones and then you still drop it. Like what the hell?
This is a clear situation for someone who literally all of like Priyanka's confessionals leading up to this actual challenge was, it's about listening. It's about saying yes. And then, girl, you didn't do either of those things. You just like, honestly, I think what ended up happening was this was an intimidation thing where she looked around and said, oh my God, everybody's being really funny. I don't know how I'm here, and just shut down.
You could tell that she wasn't even in character, like during most of the, like if you weren't, like the camera wasn't even on her, but she was still like in the picture. You could see that she was just like observing everybody else and clearly in her head the whole time. It was just not a good look at all.
Ready for it to be over. She just looked like she wanted out of this situation.
Can I just point out though, and this is for all the queens, I'm so appreciating the arts and crafts that everybody did to have a prop throughout all this. Like they all went like, what can I make around here? And nobody brought something with them in order to like help with their character. Like we saw every single person so far has had a prop that they clearly made in the workroom beforehand.
Well, yeah. So Priyanka spray paints this. It's supposed to be her crystal ball, this mannequin head thing. But that's about all we get when it comes to the seeing the future kind of deal. Because even though I think it was Jaden Dior Fierce who did Raven and did the whole like look into the camera kind of deal, which got old by the end. It was funny the first couple times. But even if she had just done that, that would have at least been something to show that I understand who Miss Cleo is as a human being, because this was not Miss Cleo to me. I don't know necessarily what this was, which I empathize with Priyanka because I do think it's performance anxiety. But at the same time, do a little bit of prep, girl. Like have some gag in the bag that you can go for, because this was just, I mean, a disaster, to say again, the most and the least.
Yeah. I think that what Priyanka ran into is overconfidence in the idea that, oh, I can just come up with stuff in the meantime without prep. And then all we saw her do with preparation is look down and go, which turban should I go for? I'm like, okay, yeah, like you have choices there, but maybe you should start thinking about what are some iconic lines I could bring out. The only one she brought up, she did in the first second that she was being introduced as a character. So where are you going to go from there? Like you have to do more. And that's what made me cringe the most, I think, out of all the characters here is when we had the walkthrough and if they had an iconic line or something, they all said it immediately. And I went, okay, well, I'm already nervous about where all of these performances are going to go. So.
All right. Well, this is a queen, Rita Baga, who performed just one of the weirdest, but most so in the same way that Corey knew everything about Gypsy Rose, I was obsessed with Edith Piaf.
Really?
Because yes, she's so iconic and like has such a, I mean, it's kind of train wreck, but you don't want to look away type situation. So for me, I was ecstatic to see that this is who she chose. And then the performance to cap it off, I think was really enjoyable for me. So Aman, what did you think of Rita here?
Yeah, I liked all of the physical comedy. That's my favorite kind of comedy. It's like, it's the low-hanging fruit, if you will. But I think that there was like a level of sophistication to the answers that she came up with as well. And she was just there having a really, really good time. So I feel like it was, it could have been like kind of risky to do some of the choices that she did, but I feel like it paid off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Corey, I think that it was somebody that, maybe not the top of mind, but I think her, especially being a French Canadian, is really just super useful because you can lean into your accent and really just go full force here.
Yeah, I'm 100% glad she did that because I think it was super smart of her to lean into that. I didn't know who Edith was at all, but I was along for the ride. Whereas, like I said, with Gypsy Rose, I knew people weren't going to know who she was, but I don't think we really learned anything about her from Boa's whole performance. Whereas with Edith, I was like, okay, now I do want to Google this person. I do want to find out about her because I thought the performance was that strong.
Yeah. I felt like with the performance, it was a little one note to me, though. That's my one note about this, is that it was literally just like somebody who, I don't know, like it's not like, it wasn't like a That's So Raven kind of thing that Jaden Dior Fierce did, which was like the same gag over and over and over. Instead, what you had was somebody who literally had the same joke. And it was still funny throughout the whole thing, but for me, it just didn't push it over the top. Like the physicality was great. The answers were okay. It was definitely one of the top performers, but definitely not deserving of a win, in my opinion. So like maybe I'm a little harsher on her, but I felt like as great, like looking at her made me laugh immediately, like just now too, because it was like such a good reminder. But I kind of overall felt like it wasn't like Jimbo being Joan Rivers and interacting a lot with other people. It wasn't Jojo Siwa having the energy and all that kind of stuff. And obviously there's an energy difference between Edith and Jojo. But it just, I don't know. I loved it, but I felt like towards the end of it, I was like, I've seen everything I was going to get out of the Edith character, if that makes sense.
I think if you're ranking the top 3 queens, I think she's still my third out of 3, probably. Because I think Rita came in, from what I can tell, with like a clear story of what she wanted to do. And she's like got these gags that she's going to do along the way and like do the pill overdose thing and kind of like play it out. And so that's why maybe you see less of that interaction with the other queens. Whereas Jimbo is really able to improvise and play off of everything else that was going on. So no, I totally understand those critiques for her. But again, just her face made me laugh. I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment, but I mean,
the way she painted it on top of just the physicality of having the face, like it was, that to me was like the funniest part. And then just like the slow movements and just, like all those things were just, it was funny. It never stopped being funny, but it became so predictable that I was like, I wasn't waiting to see what she was gonna do or say next because I knew what she was gonna do or say next.
Yeah, that's fair. Scarlett Bobo is our next queen. And Corey, we saw Liza Minnelli. So we've seen Liza Minnelli done before, which was actually a winning performance by Alexis Michelle. But I think that Scarlett did a great job here and at least had some really funny, serviceable moments.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was a little worried for her when Jeffrey did his walkthrough because she kind of seemed like she didn't know what route she was going to go. I was happy with the performance. I think I don't always love seeing performances repeated, especially when it was one that someone had won previously. Bobo went a couple of times I thought she went too far with like jumping in on other people's conversations, but overall I did enjoy the performance.
Mm-hmm. Now, Beth, as our Alexis stan, what did you think about the Liza Minnelli impression?
I thought that she did a fine job. This is a character where I don't think she did better than Alexis Michelle. Maybe that's my Alexis Michelle bias playing in there. But I felt like she didn't bring a lot of references. She didn't really bring a lot of like Liza-isms that are like just so perfect for her to say. But instead she just relied a little bit on the character and just like played around a little bit and was energetic and made sure that she was seen. And she did it all within character. So I thought it was definitely passable. In my opinion, I felt like Scarlett did a better job than Rita in terms of, because you didn't know what she was going to do versus I knew what Rita was going to do. So my personal choice would have been to have Scarlett be in the top and Rita be safe. But we can also talk about Runway looks later. Maybe that was a deciding factor.
Aman, what about you? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I feel similar to Beth. I feel like it was sort of like she kind of relied on the voice of it all. And it was kind of just one note. But, you know, like sometimes it could be strategy on some of these queens' part. Like if I'm going into Drag Race and I know that I'm not really a good person that's a good person at improv, or I don't really know how to do acting that well, and I make it to Snatch Game, it probably will serve you well to do someone that's already a caricature of themselves, but then you can at least rely on like that shtick. And even if every joke doesn't land, you're still going to get praised for being in character the entire time and at least land you in the safe as opposed to just a flat out fail like Miss Cleo or Mariah, which we're about to talk about. But yeah, so you know, sometimes it's not that bad to be safe.
Mm-hmm. Beth, does Kiara know who Mariah Carey is? Just a question.
First of all, we all know that this was, from the moment she said Mariah Carey, I said, well, we know who one of the bottom queens is. How do you make Mariah Carey like funny if you're not Shangela doing a lip sync during Divas Live? Like, there's no way to like improv and come up with stuff unless you are like an amazing comedian who can do something. Like, this is like being Beyonce. You can't make Beyonce funny. I mean, you probably can, but probably not during the Snatch Game. This was, I don't know. Kiara. And I sat back and literally I was like, no. And she didn't try to do any kind of affectation of a voice. She didn't try to do anything. She was just, I'm Kiara with like an outfit on that says I have a Christmas album.
Yeah, I mean, Corey, Kiki want a kai, but I don't want a kai with Mariah Carey here.
I 1000% agree with what Beth said. The second Jeffrey's like walking through and she says she's doing Mariah, and like the only thing she's adding is that it's like Christmas Mariah. Like, I completely agree. It's like you're not going to make people like her or Beyonce funny. It was just such a train wreck. And I feel bad saying that, but like the funniest thing she said was when Brooklyn asked her what her album was, and she said, honey, this is Christmas Baby, which I thought was actually kind of like something Mariah would do. But like the way Brooklyn repeated it back to her was funnier than the way she said it. And like I was dying laughing at Brooklyn being like, honey, this is Christmas Baby. Like, I thought that was funny. I was like, somebody needs to make a Christmas album and call it that. I don't know if it's Mariah, but that was the funniest thing of it all. And Brooklyn said it.
Yeah, yikes. But Aman, it felt more to me like she was doing Christmas, not Mariah Carey. Like, not the Big Brother player, like Christmas, like the holiday. That was like her Snatch Game.
See, look, I kind of disagree with you guys. Mariah Carey is hilarious. Mariah Carey is fucking funny, okay? All of the shade that she throws to her outlandishly low energy performances. Like, there are so many isms to say. I mean, she went on, like, she's been in this like decades long feud with Eminem. She went on a radio show, and they were asking her if she liked Eminem as in the candy. And she was like, no, I like Godiva, because she didn't want to say the word Eminem, even if it wasn't referring to him. Like, she is so shady. Okay. And sure, if you want to do the Christmas thing, and you want to, because we all talk about how she's the queen of Christmas and everything, and like, she's the avatar during Christmas, and it's reborn every December 25th. Then, like, really lean into that. Like, lean into the shade. Lean into, like, the divaness of it all. I mean, this is the woman that got into a freaking bubble bath on Jimmy Fallon in a Swarovski-encrusted gown, okay? Like, she's a diva, and she's just hilarious. This was the emancipation of Kiki, and I mean the emancipation of her, like, leaving the competition, because this was just horrendous, and what the fuck?
How are you also going to do Mariah Carey and not put a beauty mark right here?
Like lambs to the slaughter.
Like the bare minimum you really have to do besides put on that breastplate.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like there just wasn't any. There was like nothing to it. And what is it with these queens? These alleged gay men that know nothing about her? Like, why is it that, like, we got an entire challenge back in season 10? Yeah, season
10.
It was a Kiara.
Season 11.
So
11. Season 11.
Yeah. And they were all supposed to be in the Church of Mariah, and they knew nothing. And these were like gay men in their 30s. You know what I mean?
They chose Mariah. It's not like they were like given Mariah. They chose Mariah, and then we don't know anything about her, right? Though
I just don't understand. It's just so strange to me.
I just don't get it.
Like there was no I don't know hers or like,
right.
Really?
Yeah,
like
I don't know her.
I don't know.
Which that would have been a perfect answer for literally anything in Snatch Game. How dumb is Dumb Debbie or whatever? I don't know her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Exactly.
come on.
Well, to round out the performances, let's move away from that train wreck and talk about Elona Verley, who did Rebecca Moore here. And now, Corey, I do have to ask you, have you ever sent any chicken pics?
No, cock pics.
Cock.
Alona, it was just a little one note for me. I think it borderlined a little on God, who was it? Jiggly Caliente doing Snooki, like with her getting up and trying to suck Jimbo's fingers, and it was a little too one note. I did laugh a couple times. I did think when she spelled cock and said "ock," but like you could see the wheels turning. Like a lot of her performance, you could see her thinking about it, and it wasn't as like off the cuff as I wanted it to be. She just very much relied on saying cock as many times as she could.
I think that's what happens, Beth. Yeah, when you do porn star, like you just have a tendency to just keep going back to that hole over and over again.
Yeah, I felt like if you're going to do Rebecca, here's the thing: like the cock destroyers have become like such like an icon, especially within the LGBTQ community. They're both bisexual, I believe, as well, and so there's a lot of things that you can do that, like, talking about joining her OnlyFans, or like there are things that you could do that are not just like, I'm talking about cock. Like there's things that you could do. Like they're incredible businesswomen. Like they're incredible influencers online. There's a lot of things that you could play into this. And every time, if it's like, it's a low hanging fruit to just go for the obvious, like sex joke, I guess. And like, I think her characterization was pretty much there, but again, that was also pretty one note. Like one of the things that make the cock destroyers like so interesting is that they have this level of being like really low, and then they're just getting into it. Like, I mean, like there's things that you can do with it that like to really, I don't know. I just felt like basically what Corey said was like you could just see the wheels really turning with her.
Yeah, I wanted like more, like I kind of wanted her to do more like sex jokes. Like, I mean, they're all like Rebecca Moore and the Cock Destroyers are already so freaking over the top. Like, you really don't have to do much. Like, I mean, I kind of just wish that she had just like really driven it home, but
really driven it home there.
yeah.
But I also wonder how much of this was her wondering how much she can get away with on a television show. Like that's the only thing I could think in my head was like, is she worried about how much she's going to get edited out?
Yeah, but then you can't do this character then. If that's something that you're scared of, like,
it's better to be
you either
funny
go all the way.
Yeah, it's better to be funny in the room and then not worry about what your edit's going to be. Like that's the job for the editors to figure out, girl. Like you go full steam if you want. But yeah, I mean, it did make me laugh, which is what the requirement for a Snatch Game, even though I do agree, like, yeah, it was one note and it definitely could have gone a little bit further. She could have been more dynamic with it. All right, well, that wraps up all of our Snatch Game performances. So let's just jump on into the runway. Now, the guest host this week, which, by the way, Corey, I wanted to ask you, what are you thinking about the guest host, like the way that they've been doing the hosting versus the judges?
I've been enjoying it. Like, I think it keeps it fresh. I think it's nice to, especially with it being Canada, I feel like they've introduced me to a lot of Canadian celebrities or people that I wasn't aware of. That I end up Googling after each episode. So I've been fine with it. And I think they've almost been better at like doing their versions of RuPaul than like Jeffrey or like Brooklyn's like interpretations of being RuPaul.
And Mary Walsh, who was the actress, comedian, writer, who is the guest host of this episode. I mean, she looked fabulous. When I am her age, I hope that I can too rock a like leather bodysuit because I thought she was a lot of fun. She really brought it, and I think she was just enjoyable as our guest host this week. All right. Now we need to talk about the Night of 1,000 Celines. That's right. We're doing Celine Dion, which I just love the fact that on the Snatch Game episode, which Brooke, when she did her Snatch Game, picked Celine Dion, famously bombed. And so they're going to do the Night of 1,000 Celines here, which was just like, I imagine the producers being like, like, let's just fuck over Brooke and really dig that knife in. But I thought that this was a cool challenge, something or cool runway theme, something that we've seen before with other iconic divas of the past. The first queen that we have come out and walk the runway is Boa. Now, her major criticism from the judges, Beth, was that it was just too much fringe.
No, I have to agree with that. Even if you look at what Celine's outfit was, there wasn't a lot of fringe where like the arm would meet the torso. So even if she had just gotten rid of that, or at least it was sheerer than the fringe that she did have, if she got rid of that fringe there, it would have showed off the curves, the padding, the body a little bit better. I was surprised that we didn't hear the judges say, hey, thank you for not pulling some kind of, titty prank here on the runway and like kind of going for glamour and doing something that clearly we've asked you to do. Even if just acknowledging that, even though I agree with their other criticisms, I think would have gone a long way. And maybe they did do that and just got edited out. But I was really pleased to see Boa come out there and really try to take what the judges had to say and not try to do a gag.
Yeah, Mon, what did you think of this?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what was wrong with it when I was watching it for the first time, and then when they said it's too much fringe, I was like, oh yeah, duh. Like it just completely swallows her up. I will say this about the runway in general, though. I was kind of like, I don't know about you guys, but I was kind of like left wanting. I don't know. I think it's because the other divas that we see them emulate, like Gaga or Madonna, those women have like such outlandish repertoires in terms of like outfits, and I feel like Celine, while she is a big, huge name and she's a diva, I feel like her wardrobe is not as drag as the rest of the divas are. So I was kind of like, this kind of felt a little bit too just like pageant to me. But for Boa in particular, I mean, she kind of had like one of the more interesting looks. It just sucks that it had to be, too fringy.
Yeah, Corey, was this too pageant, not pageant enough?
I mean, Beth stole like all of the words right out of my mouth. Like, no, you're fine. When it walked out, I was excited. And I think it was because it was a version of Boa that didn't have like a shtick and it didn't have a reveal. And I liked it. I think watching this GIF of her spinning, like you can see the under bodysuit a little bit once she twirls. And that's when I got excited. So I definitely agree with what the judges said, like maybe a little too much fringe. But I thought it was a more elevated look for her, which the judges had been asking for.
Which I don't know, low expectations where it's like, oh, no titty gag. Great. Fantastic. Look, she doesn't end, I mean, she's, doesn't end up in the bottom two, at least. She's not lip syncing. So who knows? Maybe that was something that saved her. Now, Scarlett Bobo is the next queen that we see to walk the runway. And Beth, I think she looks really beautiful. I think she painted herself in a way that looks like Celine, but still, makes her retain her own features a little bit, like just look really gorgeous.
Yeah, my first thought when she came out was, wow, she really kind of looks like Celine. I'm getting Celine from her face, and I didn't expect to feel that way with any of the queens, but especially with Scarlett, because Scarlett normally paints pretty dramatically. She clearly is incredibly talented as a makeup artist with some of the looks that she's able to make. So I was really pleased with this. This is a soft look. I thought this was a good interpretation of that look. I didn't have really much to say positively or negatively. I thought it was a safe look to go with.
Corey, did Beth steal the words this time too, or not?
I mean, I agree. I think we've seen Scarlett do a lot of kind of like punk rock kind of things this season. And same with what I said with Boa. I think this runway gave a lot of them the opportunity to do more like high fashion, more glamour. This was a side of Scarlett that I wasn't expecting to see, but I was happy that she showed it.
Yeah, we're getting punk rock Celine this time around. The tattoos up against this dress are just really taken before a ride. Yeah. Not that it's anything that she can help, but it was. I think that the look is gorgeous. Yeah, I just found it so funny with those tattoos just shining through.
Do you guys think that for something like this, it makes sense to cover the tattoos since you're clearly trying to go for an illusion as somebody else?
Depends on how you want to cover them. Like, right. I'm not a huge fan of when they wear the like suits that are supposed to be like skin tone color and they're never quite the skin tone color that we need it to be. Right. So I was okay with the tattoos, but yeah, it just depends on how she covered them.
I think I would have preferred if she covered them, Beth, because I think if you're like doing like a regular look, fine. But if you are trying to be someone else, then I would have preferred. But it is like if you run the risk of doing what Corey said and getting one of those really weird flesh tone suits, or you have to spend all that time painting over it, which could end up on the dress. And so it's a lot of work. So I can understand.
Let's be honest. Some of those tattoos are probably not places where you're going to easily be able to cover up yourself. You're going to be asking somebody else to do it, and they've got other things go on. So I bet that there was time limitations for that.
Well, use it better, maybe. No, just saying.
You all get the same amount of time.
Chapman coming through here.
Okay, the next queen to come through is Kiara, who the judges really liked this, Corey. I thought it just kind of looked like a cheaper version of the Celine look. But I mean, she walks the runway well.
I haven't loved a lot of Kiara's looks all season, so I actually kind of liked this look too. I agree with somebody said they didn't love the ponytail, one of the judges, and I agreed with that, but I felt like she had more shape and there was more to the outfit than a lot of what she had presented so far.
I mean, she definitely has a fantastic body, and that allows her to get away with like the I'm thinking of that really skimpy dress, sort of reminded me of like that Valentina look that I thought she looked gorgeous in. But yes, you're not necessarily impressed with that garment. Like, you look fabulous, Kiara, but the garment itself, Amon, is just, maybe leaves more to be desired.
Yeah, it's a little awkward looking to me. I mean, you're right. I feel like it does look a little bit cheaper than the original, and the ponytail. I don't know what was going on with her edges. Like, I mean, you're a drag queen, baby. Like, what was going on up there? It was so strange.
I do love her though, Beth. So part of me like wants to give her the benefit. I don't know. She goes this episode. It's a bad Snatch Game performance. I'm trying to find something that I like about this.
I mean, I'm not as harsh on the outfit. I'm harsh on the wig. Like, this was I mean, if you need to be able to blend those edges in better. That's exactly where my
It's like a
focus
fucking
went to.
crime scene up there. It's crazy.
You can look at the ponytail and just immediately, I was like, why are you flipping around? There are 4 hairs up there. Why are you flipping around? Like, that is not something that is moving the way you think it is. It's like not setting back the way you want. So I would, I don't know. I just felt like if the way she the way she walks the runway is powerful, high fashion, it's great. Like, she has a great runway walk. Her face looks beautiful. I really love her as a character, as a person, but my goodness, like, this was just not it. Like, if you want to save yourself from the bottom, this was not it.
Some thunder, Beth.
Did you hear that?
The drag gods were like, I disagree.
I take it all back.
No, I think she's somebody who just has a lot of charisma. I really just vibed with her for some reason from early on. And I think that the questionable taste level, which she has, is something that will be improved with time. She's still young. And so even though she says like, oh, Kiki for All Stars, which you can kind of roll your eyes a little bit, be like, girl, I think she will grow. I think she'll be someone.
Can we get a season 2 first?
I know, right? Well, hey, the way that the U.S. is doing it, it really doesn't seem to matter. We're just cranking out the All Stars.
One will be in between 1 and 2, and it will just be all of season 1 again.
The Queen's back again. So we'll see what she brings to us in the future, because I do think that she's someone who has a ton of potential. Mm-hmm. Rita Baga is our next queen to walk the runway. And Aman, she does the 2-in-1 look here from before and after Eurovision.
Yes. I mean, the first one was a little, just looking at it, it's a boxy. You could tell that there was something underneath there. And I kind of wish that she just had gone with the reveal look, because that one was a little stronger to me. The belt is just so thick. I feel like it just like cuts off half of her body. So this wasn't my favorite look. And I also feel like the wig was awkwardly on her head. She had like the whole physicality down and everything. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, both looks were just, I don't know. It just looks like, why is the skirt like so high? It's off. It's just not. Something's off.
Corey, are you as confused as
yeah. Like, I liked the idea of going back to like early Celine, because I think she was right to think out of the box in that way, where maybe a lot of other queens weren't going to go that route. But to have 2 looks and to have them both just kind of be this mediocre, I was like, I would have rather seen 1 great look than 2 okay looks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Beth, I think for me, I love the idea, love the concept. She had, again, much like her Edith Piaf, she had the physicality down. She embodied Celine. But then when I actually look at the outfits for what they are, I'm not super impressed, because even the outfit underneath is a little boxy and has that super high waist and all of that stuff. But everything else, like, I loved.
I didn't like either of these. I didn't like it. She came out and it was basically the Edith wig again, just a little higher. But it was like in the same place on her forehead. And I was like, you're not doing Edith anymore, girl. You're doing Celine. Pull it back down to a normal place on your forehead, please. Thank you. It was boxy. I felt like with the first look, with the white look, the skirt needed to happen just even like another ½ inch lower than it does. Like it's just not in the right place. It would have helped maybe define a little bit more of a shape, because Celine's not like a super curvy person. But even with the second outfit, you can see that Celine, if you're watching the video, you'll be able to see the side by side. Like, Celine is cinched in a little bit, and that belt does not cinch in for her at all. Doesn't give her any kind of shape. I'm happy she explained the walk, because I was not attuned to what this movement was of going back and forth. But I got reminded about what Rita's roots are with this, which is very cabaret, like kind of campiness. And I kind of appreciated that portion of it. I don't know, for a French Canadian queen, I was really hoping she'd kind of elevate her Celine Dion look a little bit more.
Was this the same weight that she wore for Edith?
It might be. I don't know.
Looks
It
pretty
looks
close.
so similar, but I think it's fuller. I don't know if it's the same wig though.
Like that she maybe just styled a little differently. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, the thing is that like Celine is a Quebecois queen. Rita is a Quebecois queen. Like, because I think Celine was born in like a suburb of Montreal. Rita's from Montreal. And so I think that Rita really focused on I will physically be Celine versus let me make a couple little adjustments to the outfits to just elevate that a little bit more. So I think that that's sort of the conflict that's going on with this look because yes, once you guys are pointing out all these little details, I can't stop looking at the wig, which is just the line is not. Yes, but I loved it when I saw it walk the runway initially because of the physicality of it all. But then now looking at the outfits more, I think this was a little bit of a miss. And I think it's probably the judges felt that way as well. And so is one of the reasons why she probably didn't end up being any higher or at least potentially winning the challenge because the judges really vibed with that, but just didn't necessarily like this look.
You know, I'm happy that we're reviewing these with the video because I'm reminded even more why I felt Scarlett should have been above Rita. I really feel like Rita should have just been safe because I was not a fan with either of those runway looks. And I really felt like Scarlett's, even though it was a safe look, it was different for Scarlett. She looked better. And I felt like her snatch game was a little bit more you didn't know what was going to happen, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't think that Rita had any chance of winning. So, like, I don't know. Why not give Scarlett some props?
What a fantastic plug for the video. If you want to come watch us, we're on YouTube. Check out Rob as a Podcast, the YouTube page. And you can marvel at the glory that is Jimbo's runway look this week, Corey, because I just felt like this was something so glam that I would never have expected from Jimbo.
Yeah, I loved it. I think I had the same gasp that the judges had when she turned the corner. I loved the look. I loved the little hat. I thought she was great. I do always, am I the only one who thinks Jimbo looks terrified walking the runway every time?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, what does Jimbo do when she's at clubs or performing normally? Because she looks terrified to walk in heels always.
Yeah. It's very
Jimbo?
kimchi.
It really reminded me of that
Yes.
challenge on America's Next Top Model Cycle 7 when Tyra made them girls walk the runway in those like 13-inch heels. I was like, this girl feels like she's about to fall. Timber, baby, timber.
It's not Jimbo, it's Timbo. You're yelling Timbo. Yeah, Aman. I mean, this was the awkward runway walk aside. I think the look was something that was cool.
Yeah, she definitely dragged it up. With the side by side of the original, this is definitely a bit of an elevated look. I love the studs on the back of the heel, and just the confidence that she has. Like she just knows that this is a look that's gonna kill, and it does.
Yeah, Beth. What are your thoughts on this?
This is the only look that I feel like bested Celine in terms of like being in a drag competition. I still have critiques, but it's mostly about painting. I wish that she had maybe been slightly softer, specifically around the jawline. It comes across as like really, I don't know, like masculine, I guess. And I don't know if maybe that's what she was going for. I don't know. And in which case that's valid. And I wish that she had been able to maybe draw some like cleavage because like underneath the sheer part in the chest area, because that's what you're getting from Celine. So to really just drive it home, that little detail would have made it. But like, let's be honest, I'm splitting hairs here. This is an excellent look. I think that her shoe choice is better than Celine's. I think, you know, you've got some of the nice sparkle to it, which I always appreciate. So no, I thought it was a really, really great high fashion look from her.
Now, Aman, Lemon is the next queen that we see. And at first I was like, oh, I love this. And then the more I looked at it, the more I hated it.
There's this video online of this man taking a bed sheet and then doing like 10 different types of gowns just with the bed sheet. And that's exactly what this looks like here. This looks like a bed sheet with a zipper on the back. There's like no form to her. Everything is just like it's it's just boring. Like there's no the Celine looks better. Like I don't know. I just feel like she
boxy.
didn't try.
It's boxy, and there's something weird about the material. I mean, look, all of these criticisms aside, like they all look fabulous compared to how I look at every moment of every day. But like, it's just, I think Lemon needs to either cinch more or pad more or something to give her body a little bit more shape, Beth, because this was very boxy.
What is the point of wearing a corset if you're not going to give yourself a shape? Like you can clearly see the corset underneath and it's not doing anything for her. So I guess like that's exactly, I felt the same way where like I was drawn more to like seeing where the corset was underneath, but it not adding anything. So like if you're going to go through that trouble, go through the trouble and put, you know, pull it out a little bit more, pull it in. I mean, a little bit more. So, yeah, this was just safe. It felt like, here's the Halloween costume version of, like, you can go to the Halloween store, which will probably be open tomorrow because it's August now. So they open them up now, apparently. And go be Celine. I don't know.
Yeah, Corey, would you wear this for Halloween?
No, you couldn't pay me. I mean, I feel like Lemon, this isn't the first time Lemon's got a critique about having a shape. I mean, that's why she was in the bottom in the first week, was because she literally created a look that had no cinching, no shape, no form. And the second she walked out, I was like, oh, that's just one straight line in a lot of like navy blue. I get that it was like an iconic Oscars look, but I was just like, it wasn't elevated for me, and it just really, the fact that there was no shape, and I didn't love it. And I know we said about like Kiara's wig, but I think like a couple of them have like struggled with wigs this season, and I would include Lemon and Priyanka in that same category.
Yeah. Do you guys think that Lemon has, because of her dance background, relies a little bit on, and because she paints so feminine, she does like have a naturally kind of more feminine face. Do you think that she just relies on the fact that her walk and her face is just going to cover up the rest of her? Like, do you think that that's maybe why she's not getting that criticism?
Maybe.
I mean, I think she is getting the criticism. So
no, I mean like she's like understanding the criticism. She's getting the criticism, but she's like not getting it. Yeah.
Right, hearing versus listening.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like get her a protractor. This is too much ruler, too straight. Like it's something that she needs to figure out, because Beth, I think that could be part of it, is like she is very femme sort of in the way that she moves and paints and all that stuff because of the dance potentially. And so if stop relying on that dance body.
Yes, relying on that dance.
All right. Well, Alona is our next queen to walk the runway. And Corey, you said that you had been liking a lot of her looks. So what did you think about this one?
When it like came out, I was excited. And then when she like turned and you can see like, is that a short? Is it a skirt? Like, what is the diaper?
Skirt depends phase.
I don't know. She's been someone who's surprised me all season. A few weeks ago when she had that blue like dog shoulder thing, I thought was incredible. I think she is really good at makeup. Like her makeup skills are out of this world, I think. I don't know. This look didn't get me super excited. Like I said, I kind of saw it and I was like, it's probably going to be a safe week for Alona.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's like Celine Dion doesn't really have a fantastic outlandish dragish wardrobe, but I do like that she was another one that sort of like was inspired by the original and didn't necessarily care to do a carbon copy, but made it a little bit more fun, a little bit more poppy.
And she made it her own. I mean, this seems very much like something Alona would wear, and I think that's was what worked for her on this. Is she found something that Celine did, and she said, "How can I make it Alona?" And I think she did do that.
Well, right, because the OG look, Beth, is red, whereas what Alona did is, first of all, make it pink, and then I'm not sure if those spots she added those spots or they were there before, but definitely, like they're saying, has made it into her own.
She made it into her own, but I like the boot, I like the jacket, like the hair and the makeup, but whatever that short skirt diaper
it does look like a diaper,
right?
It looks like a full diaper too. Like that is full, bitch. That is hanging down. Like, Come on. Well, here's
Not
the
a
other thing
droopy
too.
diaper.
Like Celine's boots come up to the skirt, and like her boots either didn't come far enough up or the skirt didn't go far enough down to really give that illusion. And if it went farther, get rid of that whatever strip is. And when she bent over, which we're not seeing on the video, by the way, she bends over at one part, and I was like, girl, that is nowhere near your butt, that strip. It's still hanging down a couple inches below. It does not look sexy. It looks like you need to fix something. Like I was so distracted by that, but you know, she was safe this week, so she didn't get any criticism, but there was a part of me that just wanted like that. I was actually hoping that's the one time I wanted to hear Jeffrey Boyer Chapman's bitchiness come out and talk about a diaper.
Read her.
But no, I agree with all the other points about Elona. I think she's a great makeup artist. I think that she did make her own. I really appreciated that, but I was so distracted.
Well, we had two 2-in-1 looks, and the other queen to pull this off, in addition to Rita, was Priyanka, which this was a Brooklyn. I mean, she had the look beforehand, right? But this was a Brooklyn Heights. I'm going to be in the bottom. I got to do something to just light the world on fire and make the judges want me to stay on, because I mean, she had to have known what was coming with the critiques.
Yeah, I mean, she's lucky that that Snatch Game happened during this particular runway, because it was a lot of fun. I thought that the wedding dress was good on its own, but then when she pulls out the second one, I was like, oh yes, bitch, come on. Like this is good, this is dramatic, this is campy. I love it. I love that she threw the bouquet and like none of them cared to cash it.
I mean, it didn't go anywhere near them. It would have been really hard.
There ain't no wide receiver, okay? They're not going to jump on out of there. Yeah, Corey, what did you think about the 2-in-1 look?
I liked it better than Rita Baga's, that's for sure. But I almost wish she would have just stayed in the wedding dress moment. It seemed like a more like subdued, I don't know, like kind of quiet performance, and I thought it was very pretty. And then I think some of the times Priyanka goes a little too much for me, and then to have this reveal and then she's like stomping around the stage like a linebacker. Like I didn't love the second part of it. It's like I struggle with Priyanka this whole season. Like I go back and forth with things that I like about her and things that I don't. And it's like I really just wish she would have had that moment in that beautiful like wedding gown and just let it be that.
The slit in the gold dress is a little weird because it won't like close, if that makes sense. Like it's hanging open and you see the inside of the dress too much.
It's like curved up at the top rather than being like a split, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I think Beth, for me, what I can at least give Rita is the fact that the two looks went together because it was centered around Eurovision, whereas this to me was like the wedding dress and then a completely separate award show moment. So I didn't quite get like, oh well, why these two together?
I mean, I'm totally here with it. I wish she'd just said like, you know, this was 2 of the best nights of my life. I don't know. Billboard Music Awards probably not as big as like, I don't know, the friggin' Oscars, but I don't know. But I agree. I actually like the gold outfit a little bit better than the wedding dress. I like the wedding dress a lot, don't get me wrong. And I definitely feel like but I feel like she needed to do exactly what you were talking about earlier, Liana. She needed to pull out 2 looks that were both, I mean, let's be honest, there were quite a few of them that looked cheap. Neither one of these looked cheap. Her hair looks great. All of a sudden you can see the hair when she takes off the veil. And I just felt like this was one of the better runways that we saw tonight. Even if they weren't necessarily related, either one on its own, I feel like was better than half of the other runways we saw. So I was happy for that. I also agree though with Corey that like she went from nice and subdued to like running around the stage. But there was a part of me that kind of feels like, well, to be fair, Celine goes from being kind of subdued as a human to being like really quirky and kind of loud and such. And so I kind of appreciated that homage to her, but just in her own Priyanka way.
Well, unfortunately, the runway was not enough to save her from the bottom. So the queens that are safe were, if I get this right, Scarlett, and who is the other one who is safe?
Elona.
Alona, yes. Okay. And then in the bottom, we have Boa, Kiara, and Priyanka. The tops were Rita, Jimbo, and Lemon. We talked a little bit about where everybody ranked. Corey, is there anybody who you would have moved around? Was Jimbo your winner here? Were these your bottom two of Priyanka and Kiara?
Yeah, Jimbo was definitely the winner for me. I thought the bottom two were right. I kind of agree with what Beth said. That kind of middle road for me, it was a little up in the air. I was actually surprised that Boa was the third person in the bottom. I don't know. I thought it was pretty accurate for the most part.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk. There's nothing really about the Untucked because Bobo and Alona were literally, well, I don't know, but sleeping. They're taking a good old fashioned nap. I
can't blame them.
Yeah, I can't believe them either.
Long days, right? Filming. Like, that must be just so much. But something else that was so much, and it reminded me, that's the other thing about Canada's Drag Race. It's reminded me that we can have good lip syncs. Like, not the lip syncs don't always have to be mediocre, because when I'm every week being like, double save, what does that tell me about the quality of the lip syncs in RuPaul's Drag Race at large? Because this performance of I Drove All Night by Celine Dion, of course, got to stick with the Celine song, between Kiara and Priyanka, I thought was just so energetic, Aman, and was really, really fun to watch.
It was long too. Like, we're getting like longer performances on the Canadian version of Drag Race, which I don't mind at all. Yeah, I think that they both were just fighting to stay. Like, they were going all in. I love that Priyanka is like using both of her garments to just really sell you this image. I feel like I could see some strategy take place here, because they both start off really, really over the top. And then I think what did Kiara in was some of the choices that she made. The flips were poorly timed, a little too over the top. I think that Priyanka saw that, and that's when you begin to see her sort of like stand rooted to one spot and sing directly to the judges. Which has made it, just a more impactful performance. But there was definitely a few moments where I was like, is this going to be a double Shantae? Is it too early for that?
You have to think kind of, I don't know, or at least I did based on the edit, that it's like, oh, well, Priyanka's going to stay, right? Like, there's no way they're going to send Priyanka home, somebody who's been such a narrator for the season. So that definitely factored in while I was watching it. But Corey, I thought this was a super tight race.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that Kiara was like holding her own. I agree with you. I think I had a little preconceived notions of when they announced the bottom two. I was like, well, we've had such a more well-rounded edit for Priyanka this whole season so far. There's no way she's going home at this moment. But I was glad she was there fighting. I 1000% agree with what Aman said about when Priyanka, they both started out with so much energy. It reminded me of Kenya Michaels versus Latrice Royale, where Latrice was just like stood her ground and did what was it? Natural Woman. You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. Yep. And then like in the background, Kenya Michaels is flipping and splitting and kicking and everything. And it's like, you've got to know when to like hold the stage and let them just like focus on you really feeling the song. I always get sad when someone loses a wig or shoes. Like, I never think that's a good sign. If your wig or your shoes come off, you're not going to win the lip sync. So I'm like, you either need to wear some shoes that aren't coming off, or you need to figure out a sexy way to put your shoes back on. Because once Kiara's shoes came off, I was like, oh, there's her nail in the coffin. She's not coming back from that.
That's a skill I need to learn. I need to figure out. How do I sexily put a shoe on?
While lip syncing to a Celine Dion song. I mean, listen, I don't know how to do it either. They both did way better than I could ever do. But yeah, once that kind of moment happened, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, Beth, that did make me nervous. It did.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like I'm the Debbie Downer of this whole episode, but we're about to get into it a little bit more. I am not a fan of let's pull out all the tricks just because I can. I really feel like you need to listen to what the song is, what the mood of the song is, what the lyrics are, and match that. And I felt like there were moments where both of them were just chaotic energy, but Priyanka had a little bit more control over her. Like there were times I literally said this out loud as I was watching where I went, is she flopping around like a fish? Like it literally, like Kiara, like it didn't even look good after a while. It just looked like she was just throwing herself around.
Yeah.
And the way that the judges were reacting, I was like, if I saw this in a club, if I had a few drinks in me, like, yeah, I'd probably be like, yeah, this is great. But for like a lip sync to a Celine Dion song about driving in a car all night to have sex with somebody, like, I don't know. I just felt like it was just a little too much on both parts. I felt like Priyanka was definitely much better. But I don't know. I feel like part of it was the strategy that, you know, Corey and Aman have talked about. But I think part of it too is Priyanka realizing like halfway through the song, like what the song was really giving. And Priyanka gave face and emotion and Kiara just didn't. Kiara just gave like flips and such. I was not as high on this lip sync as I probably would be otherwise. I do think it was fun to watch, but if you had the volume kind of down and you just watched them go around, like that was fun. But neither one of them really embodied the song to me.
Come on, Cirque du Soleil. Well, Priyanka does end up winning, like we talked about this lip sync, and stays to fight another day. And I think that she is going to learn from this. I think she's going to rebound because she's good at the acting challenges, and that's what we're getting next week is an acting challenge based on the late night law firm commercial. So I'm excited to see what we have in store for that. And also, I could not help but take this particular still from the preview, which is, I believe, Jimbo in a patchwork denim face kini / full outfit. No, I think the runway is denim, and this is what we're getting from Jimbo, which makes me weirdly happy, Bev.
And you can tell that she's getting criticism at the very least because she's standing in line next to somebody else on that stage. Well, maybe not. Maybe they're going to like call her name or whatever. But I would be hard pressed with this outfit alone to say that Jimbo's not going to get criticism. So I bet she'll definitely be getting something.
Well, I mean, we're down to our top 7. So it's entirely possible that all of the queens here are going to be getting criticism in the next week because it's weird because it feels like Canada also just started because there was the overlap between All Stars and Canada. But Corey, what are you thinking predictions in terms of the rest of the season? Who do you think is going to go far? Who do you think is going to win?
I know. Literally, my roommate and I were talking about it as soon as the episode ended because it feels like it just started. And I'm like, wait, there's only 7 left. So if there's going to be a top 4, I was like, it's tough for me. I definitely think Alona and Boa are probably the next 2 to go in some fashion. But that top 5, I could really kind of see any of them being the final 4. I don't know who's going to be 5th out because I think that top 5 is really strong.
No, I actually completely agree with that. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we get a top 4 or top 3. I think I did my maths and I counted it out. And if we have a top 3, we're going to have 10 episodes, which kind of makes sense. It's got a little bit more of an older schooler like Drag Race feel. So I don't know if we're going to...
Does that include a reunion? Because they normally do...
Oh, that's a good point. It might not. So yeah, it might be a top 4, but then with a reunion or something like that thrown in there. But Aman, do you have any thoughts on who you think is going to make it deep?
You know, I'm kind of thinking that Lemon might be a bit of a dark horse here. I think that she's starting to sort of like comment her own a bit, especially during this episode. And I feel like as long as she stays on the top and or safe, I feel like she could pull the win out here. We just lost 3 Black queens in a row, yo. I'm so sad.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
I know.
Like,
Beth.
That was literally one of my thoughts, like when I watched this episode, was we saw the only 3 Black queens get eliminated one right after another. And I don't know,
it sucks. I mean, there was no way around it this time. Like,
right. No, Kiara definitely deserved to go.
She was bad, but it was just like, damn, like that just sucks to see.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of those things. It's like, okay, so like, what am I missing here? Like, is there some type of microaggression, some type of implicit biasy that like I'm not seeing? No, I don't think so. I think that the queens that went home are the queens that probably should have gone home. I think that honestly, Tainomi could have even gone earlier. But the show wanted to give her due. She is a big drag queen, wanted to hang on to her for a little bit longer. So It is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
We are done here. So let's wrap all of these things up. Before we give our plugs, I do want to plug our charity for the week. So we have been mostly doing charities that are based in the United States. We're going to Canada. Why not plug a Canadian charity? Why not plug every Canadian charity there is? So if you are interested in donating, I couldn't pick just one. Go to canadahelps.org and you can actually search for all of the Canadian charities from Victoria to St. John's. They have those that are local. You can search by topic. So for example, if you want to donate to LGBTQ plus charities, you can just search that topic and you can find a charity that is in your area. If you're someone who lives in the United States, get a map, like a spot, donate to that community, or, find a friend, donate to that community. That's what we're trying to do here, trying to reach out and trying to help. So if you have a charity that you want plugged, definitely reach out to us and let us know. I live in the United States. I'm not as familiar with the needs in Canada. So if you have something, reach out to me on Twitter at Leona, RHAP. Corey, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. This was such a blast.
Oh, like I said, we talk about Drag Race on Psychobabble sometimes, but it's always like 5 minutes. And it's like, who do you like? Who do you not like? This was so fun.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that you had a ton of fun. And where can people find you on social media? What else are you up to? You mentioned Psychobabble, which is, of course, amazing. If you haven't listened, this is my plug for it as well. Listen.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. It's Corey Cool, KOREYKUHL. And yeah, new episodes of Psychobabble come out every Tuesday. We're going into like our 6th year, which is crazy.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thanks. 30-minute, short, quick, kind of like pop culture episodes every Tuesday.
And Aman, what about you? Where can people find you on social media? What are you up to?
You can find me on both Instagram and Twitter at Amon Adwin. I just did 2 of the Hypothetically Speaking podcasts for BB22, covering both Tyler and Avon, of course. And I also have my Glee podcast with Matt called The Choir Room, so check us out there.
Yeah, Corey, you're a Big Brother person too, right? So
Yes.
do you have any thoughts on the the epically never-ending preseason?
Oh my God.
I know. My God, it's been a war.
It's
been designed to make Amon go crazy, I think. That's
literally the first thing I do every morning when I wake up is check the BB22 hashtag. But now that we know we're not even getting a cast reveal until the premiere, I'm like, who cares? I'm not checking anymore.
That's what I tell myself, and then I am.
And then literally me and my roommate sending each other tweets back and forth.
I feel like this is the appropriate podcast to talk about it. But did you guys see Evil Dick last night when he was sending out all those dick pics? He tweeted out a bunch of nudes, people's nudes, some fake, some real.
I saw
the Brett nude.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I did check the hashtag last night, and I saw something about Zach Ranz's nudes, but I didn't see them. I just saw people talking about them.
Okay, well, I don't know if they're deleted yet. I saw them last night, but that's on Evil Dick Twitter for anyone interested. But yeah, it's just the season can't.
It's been crazy. if this is the preseason, this season is about to be some shit, y'all. And the fact that it is delayed into August, which means it's not going to end towards October, in the middle of an election year, no less, baby.
We're in for a wild ride. Well, Beth, you have something going on tonight, right? You have your Twitch-iversary stream.
Yes. So you guys, if anybody follows me on Twitch, feel free to step on by if this podcast gets published before then at Augusta Wind 11. So twitch.tv/Augusta Wind 11. We are going to be playing some werewolf with some awesome RHAP people, maybe some people from My Weekly Meltdown, the Sequester community, and even some other Twitch streamers. I'm hoping we'll pop on by to play a few rounds. It should be a lot of fun. I'm also getting into BB22 with My Weekly Meltdown. On Monday, we're going to be doing our precast analysis / draft, which we know is subject to change if the cast is not what we think it is. So we're going to do that on Monday, which will be a lot of fun. And then we're trying to find the time to fit in the finale of BB10 for us to finally finish that up as well. So lots going on, but all really fun stuff. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AugustaWind11.
And like I said, you can find me on Twitter at Leona RHAP. I also participated in the Hypothetically Speaking series talking about gorgeous hot man meat Cody Calafiore. So
I
look
have to
out.
listen.
I know, right? When Rob asked me, why are you excited for Cody to be back? I was like, have you seen Cody?
It's like I'm unabashed by it too. It's just like I don't care. I know it's vapid. I know that it's so like, but like man.
It would be, so is it just
Same.
like you being like, now we're gonna talk about his eyes. So
we're gonna talk about his ab in the upper right hand quadrant. Okay, we got this ab, then the other ab.
Go
and then now we're
clockwise.
gonna talk about his tattoo on his arm, which really helps to like accentuate his bicep.
It would have been if it hadn't been me and Taryn and Rob.
Honestly, I want Taryn on that one as well, because I think it would just be funny for him to be like, could we get back into the gameplay?
I think Mari would have been down, our wonderful guest from class of 2020, but yes, the others maybe not so much. In addition, we're also doing the RHAP B&B for Big Brother. So we just released our preview podcast, and then we're going to be doing weekly podcasts covering Big Brother 22, doing it over at the B&B, playing some fun and games. And we're also finishing up our Survivor rewatch. So we are going back and doing some iconic episodes of Survivor for the RHAP B&B. We just talked about the Heroes Villains merge episode with the double idol play, JT going out by his own idol, and that's just been a ton of fun. So we only have 3 more weeks left of that. So wow. I know we're starting to wrap that up, and then it is all BB all day, baby. That's all we got. That's all
3
she wrote.
days, 3 days.
I know. All right. One more thing. 90 Day Fiancé. We have a new RHAP podcast, 90 Day Fiancé. I am a guest on the first episode. Look out for that. It is on in the reality TV wrap-ups feed, and will hopefully have its own feed soon. Okay. All of this insanity is made possible by the patrons of Rob Has a Podcast. So if you are interested in supporting everything that we do, you can go to patreon.com, check out Rob Has a Podcast, subscribe, help us. There are different tiers. That allows us, like I said, to do what we do. Leave your star ratings and reviews on iTunes. Big shout out to Scott St. Pierre behind the scenes for all of his wonderful work. And we will talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.